Good evening, and welcome to the Missouri on the Fly podcast. Before we get started, I would like to thank our great sponsors Cardiac Mountain Outfitters, Woolly Bugger Fly Company, LOZ Lures, Lazy River Road Outfitters, Grumpy Platypus Hackle, and Andronimus Fly Company. And everybody, please remember September 10th is Veterans Free Fishing Day at Montauk State Park. We've got a good program set up. We have people from the Veterans Administration, all kinds of guides that have volunteered their time to take vets out to get out and catch some great fish. Tonight's guest is Mr. Dave Whitlock, the legend himself. Good evening, Dave. How are you?
Fine, I'm just fine. Glad to have some cool weather for a change.
Oh yeah, we're smoking up here in Missouri for weeks.
Yeah. We snuck off last week and went to Wisconsin, and we had 50 to 75-degree weather up there. God, it was wonderful. Gee.
Oh,
Had
that's
hot
great
fishing
fishing
and
weather.
cool weather.
You know, a couple weeks ago, I did a podcast with Mr. Jack Dennis,
Yeah,
and we had an interesting conversation about you.
yeah,
He said you were one of the hardest working fly fishermen he knew when you both got started going to all the shows and everything.
yeah. Yep, we did. Jack and I go way back into the Kirk Gowdy days.
We went to, I guess, 2 weeks ago. I fished with Mark Van Patten here in Missouri.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he told me an interesting story about fishing with you as well, but I guess that's for another day.
Okay.
Um, one one of my first questions I wanted to ask you is, what does fly fishing mean to you now?
Probably the same thing it's always meant to me. It's just my life. I was just born to do it, and I still love to do it. It's just my passion. And it's blessed my life with good health and happiness and productivity. And so it's very special to me.
And it's very special to me as well. It's funny what fly fishing has done for so many people, how healing it is emotionally and physically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I attribute, being involved with it all my life to my longevity because I'll be 88 in November. And no doctor ever said I'd let to be stuck up fly fishing in my teens. I just started getting healthy. So I had a really bad heart. And that's all gone away now. So I'm looking
That's
forward to next
amazing.
year. Yeah, yeah,
A conversation we had at Salbug was about gar fishing and carp fishing on the fly.
yeah, yeah.
Um, gar and carp fishing both has been very disappointing with for me because I'll go out and cast at them and I'll get one hooked, but I'll be darned if I get very many of them in.
Carp or gar?
Either of them, honestly.
Yeah. With the gar, it's just hard to get a hook into. But
Hmm.
carp, it's just hard to make them eat. So between the two, those are pretty much full-time challenges to catch them. I always tell people, you gotta if you're gonna fish for them, you gotta be prepared for rejection because they're gonna reject you 9 out of 10 times. I guarantee you.
It's worse than being a teenager and trying to find, or an, a 20-year-old man trying to find a woman in the bar. You're going to get rejected 9 times out of 10. That's for sure.
I know, but that you have to. If you're gonna play that game, that's what you have to accept.
Hmm. Um, what is one of your favorite places to fish?
Well, my most favorite, or just one of my favorites,
Your most
because I
favorite?
got a lot of places that let the fish.
Yeah.
I lived up 40 years up on the White River,
Hmm.
and probably day in and day out, I probably spent more time in having fun fishing there than any place else in Montana and Oklahoma, all those places like that. I enjoy fishing, but probably day in day out, my home water is up around Mountain Home on the White North Fork River. I still love going up there. Back,
So,
I was up there about 2.5 weeks ago, and I hooked a fish that showed me the end of my backing, and
wow.
in about 10 seconds, and then he was gone. So there's
Hmm.
still some big thrills up there. You know, it's one thing to lose a really big fish, but to reel in 135 yards of backing is, that's disgusting because without anything on the end of it.
That's for sure. Trying to keep it tight on your spool, reeling it back in too.
Yeah. Well, that big fish had me because he went downstream, and we were fishing on the North Fork, and there was one generator on it, and I couldn't wait any further. I couldn't follow him, so I just
Hmm.
stand there and watch him disappear. But
Wow.
anyway, that's a great place to fish. Uh,
Hmm.
Em and I are going to go to New Zealand in February, and probably that's probably the best place on earth to fly fish for trout. We've been there a number of times, and if I, it's kind of like getting to go to paradise to fly fish. You know,
Hmm.
because it's not crowded and there's a lot of big fish, and it's such a peaceful, wonderful country. So
And
that
that's
I,
those fish grow in the canals there, don't they?
pardon.
It's like canals where those big fish are. They're in New
Well,
Zealand.
there are some big fish in a canal. So mostly fish just mountain streams. For
Hmm.
brown trout, and they average about 3 to 6 pounds, and you stock them. On any given day, you can expect a 10 pounder on a 5 weight. But for the most part, they run about 3 to 6 pounds, and Lord, they're gorgeous things. I always tell people that all the brown trout in the rest of the world that have lived well get to go to New Zealand when they die.
Well, maybe that's where I'll go when I die. They just pour me
Well,
in the river in
you'd
New
be a
Zealand.
fortunate man if you did, believe me.
Hmm. I fish a lot on the Current River, on the upper current here in Missouri,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there's a lot of browns in there. They're
yeah,
not they don't really naturally reproduce in there, but the
yeah,
fish that they do put in there, they grow substantially. Um,
yeah.
you can go down there and catch several 3 to 5 pound browns
Those are really nice. Well, you
in a
get fish
day.
that size. You get fish that size anywhere. That's all you need
Oh yeah,
on a flat
and
rod.
it's nice because it's you can go from big wide water where the fish could be anywhere to shallow water where you're finding them in these little tight channels on this side of the river or
Yeah,
hiding behind a rock on the other side of the river. And
yeah,
a lot of people say they can't find the big fish down there. I said, well, you're just not looking.
yeah,
Take your
yeah,
time, be sneaky, you'll find them.
yeah, yeah.
So you have written an astronomical amount about fly fishing, and you've tied all these amazing flies. What would be the one fly that you would fish if you had to choose one fly to fish everywhere? What would that fly be
For trout, you mean, or for what?
for
Because
trout?
one fly
For
that
trout.
probably on a day-to-day basis be that red fox squirrel nymph. Uh, that's a suggestive pattern that looks like a lot of food forms and properly fished. You can take trout almost on any water. Even though I fished the White River when I lived there for 40 years, and I used a lot of different kinds of flies. The red fox squirrel nymph was still my favorite. If I had to go catch a fish for a camera, or for a photograph, or for a group of people, that's what I'd tie on.
Mhm.
Got a lot of confidence in it.
You know, I've been kind of at awe knowing that you were going to come on my podcast. Um, I've been several places where you were at, and just lines around the room of people to be able to sit down, or not even really sit down to get personal and talk to you. It's just to be able to see you and hear anything that you have to say about fly fishing. Um, I've spent many weeks trying to figure out the things that I wanted to ask you, and you know, a lot of people put you like on the Tom Hanks level of people. You're the man. You're up there, and um,
That's tough.
the a lot of the conversations I've had with folks, because I've asked some other people. I said, what would you say to Dave Whitlock if he was sitting in front of you?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know. You probably couldn't even talk to him." A couple of people said that. I was like, "No, I've had one conversation with him, and when I did, he's just like me and you. He puts his boots on the same way every day, just like we do."
Yeah,
And said, "He's just a guy that has an exponential amount of passion for fly fishing, and it's his life."
yeah.
And
Well, uh, I was I was born and raised in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and with the very early part of my life, I was an invalid.
hmm
I had a bad heart, and I had polio, and a couple of other things. And I was born in a very poor family,
hmm
and because I think of that background, I naturally look up to everybody. And I
hmm
think that's a really good thing. I never developed any ego about who I was because, man, I started from ground level, I guarantee you, or below ground level. And I just feel so blessed to be with somebody that's interested in me or that I can help. And so I uh, I never did really feel like, boy, I'm Dave Whitlock. I'm just a damn lucky guy that was able to spend his life involved in this sport and helping people and making some contributions to it. So, and plus, I got the best wife in the whole world. And
she's definitely nice. She's been
uh,
dealing with me off and on for
oh
months,
God,
trying to get us signed out.
well, I tell you, she makes life great. I tell you,
That's
the only
good.
thing about it is that she outfishes me a little bit more than I prefer her to. She she we fished a beautiful river in Wisconsin for smallmouth bass last week for 3 days, and I'm gonna tell you something. She outfished me something terrible. Boy, she caught some smallmouth bass that they're estimated, but around 6 pounds. And don't ask me
Wow.
what I caught. I'm not gonna tell you. So anyway, she's a gal. But anyway, she's a blessing. And as far as I'm concerned, having her makes my life, my career just really, really special. You know how that
That's
goes. If
great.
you got the right people in your life, you live a good life. If you got the wrong
Oh, yeah,
ones,
my
it's tough.
I married my wife the year I got out of the army, and she just completely changed me and
Yeah.
made me the person I am today.
Oh,
And
you know what I'm talking about then.
she
Yeah.
outfishes me more often than I like to.
Women are women are a wonderful species, I think.
That's for sure. They are. But break my heart when mine outfishes me, but I'm still happy for her.
Just be glad she fishes with you, and
That's
let
for sure.
and you can always just tell yourself, "Well, I'm letting her outfish me."
Yep. Yep. That's
Excuse me.
she. She's always been a huge crafter, and I'm now getting her into fly tying, because
Yeah,
I'm absolutely obsessed with fly tying, and
yeah,
now now she's like, "Oh, I can make this look pretty." I was like, "Yep,
yeah,
it could look pretty. I think you could enjoy it.
yeah,
Maybe I can stop tying everybody's flies, and we can tie everybody's flies."
yeah. When Emma and I first got together, she put a lot of flies up in trees,
Hmm
and we pretty well exhausted a couple of flies that we were having good luck on because they ended up in trees. And so when we got back to the house, I showed her how to tie those flies, and I said, tie a few of these, and you'll understand why we don't want to put them in the trees. And so she's been pretty conservative ever since.
That's awesome. you something within our sport that has really come a long ways is women in the fly fishing industry.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, it wasn't a few years ago you wouldn't have seen not one woman in the river fly fishing, much less a few. And I'm impressed. They've even started with the national championships. They have a women's league and the whole 9 yards.
yeah. Well, I think that's good. Women don't cause wars.
Nope,
They don't start fights,
nope.
and they're very gentle, sweet, caring people. And so, if you have to share the water with somebody, it's better to share it with a lady than some guy that may not be quite that nice.
That's for sure.
Like, plus, they're more fun to look at.
That's definitely true.
Yeah,
Um,
even in waiters, even in waiters.
sometimes better in waiters.
Well, yeah, maybe it depends on who they are.
I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old daughter, and I've started them fly fishing in the last couple years. And my 10-year-old daughter will probably outcast most grown men now. And
Really good, good.
it's funny, she'll do it in the yard, or we'll go out on the road here in front of the house and cast. She can
Yeah,
double haul, and I know a lot of grown men that can't double haul.
yeah,
But it gets to the river, she doesn't want to fly fish in the river. She'll
yeah.
stand there, she'll take her spinning rod, but she does not want to fly fish in the river.
Really? I wonder why.
I don't know. She ties flies now too. She just doesn't want to
Yeah,
cast in the river.
have you
She'll
done?
come into it.
Yeah. How old is she? How
10.
old is she? Well,
10.
she's really young. That
Yep.
water intimidates her.
Hmm.
Someday when she gets to be a little bit bigger, she'll like that water. Oh,
You know, when we were down at Salbug, I went up and watched you. You did a casting demonstration, and
yeah,
I can't remember all the ins and outs that you did, but I mean, it was amazing the amount of people that showed up in that room to watch you cast that rod and go over it, and
yeah,
they listened to every word that come out of your mouth.
yeah. Good, good,
It
good.
was it was quite impressive.
One of the things that I got to do at that demonstration, I remember which one you're talking about. Is for a number of years now, I've been developing a new casting stroke, and
Hmm.
I was able to demonstrate that. If you remember, there where you
Yeah.
only use just the power in your thumb and index finger to
Hmm.
actually make the stroke with. And to me, for me, that revolutionized fly casting.
Uh-huh.
I don't need to double haul. I could get the distance and the accuracy, and with absolutely no effort. And I think it has that technique has a great future for people who, one way or the other, have casting problems, whether it's physical handicaps or age or lack of knowledge. That particular technique has so much promise on being able to make a beautiful cast. And a lot of people commonly say, "Well, that looks so easy," or that's the essence of fly casting. And
Hmm.
so you just load the rod with torque rather than stroking action.
Yes.
Let the fly rod do the work for you.
And from the time I started casting is when I first started fly fishing, I had the dirt cheapest fly rod that I could afford when I was young,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it was it was everything's a learning experience, and with every rod, your cast changes too. It seems like
yeah. It should. Yeah, yeah,
I pick up. I have a 5 weight and an 8 weight weight over here that I had was fishing with earlier this week, and my casts are so amazingly different between the two rods. Same brand,
uh,
same everything about the rod. The only difference is the weight. But
yeah,
it just if people would adapt their casting to situations and the line weight size, rod weight size, I think they would be a lot better off
Yeah,
in the long
yeah,
run.
yeah. When I give that demonstration that you watched, I on purpose use a very inexpensive rod. It's
Mm-hmm.
about 32 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's an original DS2 Sage, 8.5
Mm-hmm.
foot for six, and it's got thousands of hours on it. But it cost $125 when it was new,
Mm-hmm.
and I can throw as pretty a cast with that as $1,500 rod that you might buy today because it's been designed right. It's going to cast right. You just have to learn the timing of it and being able to cast it right. But you don't need to buy a rod to be a good caster. You just need to know how to use what you got because basically all rods cast pretty good. It's kind of like guns. As far as I know,
Mm-hmm.
all guns shoot pretty straight, but you got to know how to aim them.
That's for sure. I something I constantly push on my podcast is, fly fishing can be affordable for anybody, and the guy
Yeah,
with the aff- the super affordable rod can catch just as many fish as the guy with the $1,000 fly rod and the seven
yeah,
hundred dollar waders and all that other stuff.
yeah.
It's all about
Well,
the sport and
but when we do our fly fishing schools or our private instructions, we use modest price, even though our sponsors would want us to use their best rods. But I just think that put the message out wrong, like you just said. Uh, that fly fishing should not necessarily be expensive. It should just be easy to afford, regardless of who you are.
hmm
You're only casting about 30 to 50 feet. You don't have to have a rocket.
for years, fly fishing was similar to golf, to where everybody looked at fly fishing as it's that sport that only doctors and lawyers and people that make hundreds and $1,000s a year use
Yeah,
or do, and it's not. And I really push to kids and the fly fishing lessons that I give and the tying lessons and stuff. It's like everybody can do it. You haven't had fun till you've taken a fly rod and some little poppers to the creek and caught bluegill for half the day. I mean, that is
yeah,
a downright blast.
yeah, yeah. Keep it simple and fun. That's the main thing. You know, it's a it's a sport that you do basically for yourself and yourself, and so you should. It's not
Yeah.
competition. And so catching a bluegill or a carp or a trout, whatever you can catch, it should just be fun. You know, and if you go at it like that, you'll be doing it the rest of your life and enjoying it. If I've got a plan to go fishing tomorrow, I'm excited about it. It doesn't matter where I'm going. Just being able to get out and go catch a few fish or make a few casts.
It's when I was super young, we used to, you know, the night before deer season, I wouldn't sleep. I wouldn't sleep. And now it is every night before I'm getting ready to go fishing. It doesn't matter where I'm fishing, what I'm fishing. I can't sleep.
Yeah, yeah,
And I try to not push, but instill that excitement in my kids and all
yeah,
my students that I teach to fly fish and tie. It's like, it's meant to be exciting. It's meant to be fun.
yeah.
You know. So, have you ever fished up around Ketchikan, Alaska?
Around where?
Ketchikan?
No, no, no.
No.
No, I fished
Back
Alaska, but not Ketchikan. Bristol Bay area mostly.
back in the '05 range, I was up there for the army, and I seen my first salmon run up by
Yeah. That must have been
Mackinac
fun.
Island. Oh, it
Yeah,
was a blast, and
yeah,
at the time during the weekends we wouldn't work, but we could drive up on the project we were working on. There was all these mountain lakes. We could just hike up and fish. I don't it Words can't explain the beauty of what hiking up into a mountain of where you're the only person fishing and it's just crystal clear, cool lakes that are just loaded with fish.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Pretty rare thing nowadays.
yep, it just doesn't happen around in the states
You
a whole
know,
lot anymore.
I began to go in the 1950s to Montana,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go up there for 10 days of fishing. I used to take a week's vacation, drive up there and fish for 10 days. And it was not uncommon that I'd fish all 10 days and not see another fisherman. And of course,
Wow.
now you go up there now and it's just exactly the opposite. It, all of those wilderness areas eventually change once people find out about them, unfortunately. So, but it was wonderful, just wonderful. I uh, I heard a report. I don't know exactly the statistics of it, but the Montana Game and Fish ran a survey of how many boats went down to Madison last year. I think it was uh, with the outfitters, and it was, I think, over 400,000.
400.
Can you
Wow.
imagine? Can you imagine that many boats going down a river in 1 year?
That's crazy.
And like I say, that's one of the rivers I used to never see another fisherman on. But it's changing.
You
They
know,
got to roll with the punches, though.
here in Missouri, our trout streams are huge floating streams for everybody jumps on tubes and floats down the current river and
Yeah, yeah,
on the
yeah,
11 point, all these rivers where our trout live. And they told me, I think the park ranger was something like they have 2 million visitors a year
yeah,
that run down through the
yeah,
on the current
yeah,
river. That's
yeah,
just crazy.
yeah.
But yet
Well,
they're
if you like to be by yourself, that's bad. But
mm-hmm,
if you're a gregarious person and don't mind sharing stuff, everybody's having a good time, and for the most part, they're behaving.
mm-hmm,
They're not drinking or drugged up or anything. But if so, sharing water like that's not all bad. But
yeah,
at least they're out having a good time.
that's
And
for
rather
sure.
than having a good time in the wrong place.
I spend a lot of time on the current. I'll start at the head of the current and just wade down all these narrow passages and places that the floaters can't get, and
Yeah.
even
Now
go
the
down to
current,
where the float,
yeah,
even
the
down where
current,
the float.
the current is a big spring creek, isn't it?
Yep, sure
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I fished a time or two, but I never have been to where it actually came out of the ground. But I thought I seem like I have to remember that it was a big spring creek.
It
Missouri is
is.
so blessed with those big old springs.
And I'm thinking, I know there's over a dozen springs that pour into the current itself, but
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
big one starts up at Montauk State Park,
yeah, yeah,
and you know this is the beautiful bluffs. Trout live in beautiful areas, so it's crazy to think that a person wouldn't want to go trout fishing just because of where they live.
yeah,
Most of them, you go places, you can see bears, you can see wild horses, you can see all kinds of crazy different things that you go up on the Mississippi River, you're not going to see not going to see that.
yeah. No, yeah.
So, how many days a year do you think you fish now compared to 20 years ago?
Well, first of all, I don't fish as much. To answer your question kind of directly,
Yeah,
but I probably fish sometime once a week at
yeah,
least. But of course, I don't have the vitality to go and do what I used to do. But on the other hand, I've got so many other things that I like to do. My
yeah,
artwork is so important to me, my writing, and so uh, somebody who is not a fly fisherman uh, they they may not think you're having a good time if you're not on the water, but basically when I'm writing or when I'm doing art, I'm on the water with my work. So and I get that question a lot. What's your favorite thing to do? And they expect me to say fly fish, and it's really not. I really enjoy. I'm doing a painting right now, and I just can't hardly stay away from it. I mean,
Hmm.
and I know in the morning when I get up, it's going to be over there ready for me to start working on it again. And most of the stuff I do, like it takes 2 to 3 weeks to do a painting, and so I've got a 2 or 3 week fly fishing trip on canvas waiting for me, and
You know,
just so rewarding.
I
I get paid for
started
it too.
I started writing, I guess, about a year and a half ago, and I would agree with that. That I can sit here at my desk and write, and close my eyes while I'm writing. It just
Yeah,
picture myself where I'm at on the river in the story,
yep.
and it just blows my mind how much. I remember paying attention in school, and I don't think I passed an English class with above a C my entire school years, even in college. And now I can sit down and write 1,000 word story about fly fishing in 45 minutes
Yeah.
and be just as happy as I was if I went on the river and was
Well, you
fishing.
know what I'm talking about then. Yeah.
Yep.
Because you're involved with what you love, and you're just not on the water you do it, you know.
Yep.
But I tell you, to really depict a good art requires a lot more skill than it does to fly fish, as far as what you need to learn to do, the discipline you need to do. And so I find it very challenging. I never get bored of it. And
That's awesome.
I'm a self-taught artist. And so almost every picture I have to kind of figure out what I want to do before I do it. So I don't, I haven't been trained to rotely do things on there. But I think that's what keeps me interested is to try to figure that out.
That's great. I'm gonna have to get me a piece of your art to hang in my office here with the rest of my fly fishing stuff.
Well,
We
they gotta do that. That sweet wife of man, she takes care of all that art. So look look the website up and check it out. We got a
I
really good
will.
choice.
She does she does an amazing job with your website, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I've been cruising it for a few days since before this
yeah.
started. It's funny the amazing amount of research that I put into doing your podcast. And it's like I just want to throw it away and talk to you about just every day, just Dave. Because I know you're pulled 1,000 different ways every day with what do you want with this in fly fishing? How do you see it changing and all these questions that
Now
pertain to
you
it.
broke up on me when you said that. You broke up on me, so I didn't get what you said. If you repeat it, I appreciate it.
I said, I'm sure that you're pulled 1,000 different ways with all these different questions about fly fishing, and you just don't get to have a normal conversation about just Dave, about what Dave
Yeah,
likes to do.
yeah. Well, what I like to do is what I am, and that is basically involve myself in the outdoors, and and particularly with creating some art. And I
Mm-hmm.
still dearly love to tie flies. And I've got still really good eye-hand coordination and 20/20 vision. So to tie flies to me is it's very easy to do, and I think it next to the art, it's so creative and very useful. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the things really that I like to do.
Would you
I used
say?
to do a lot of hunting, but I don't hunt anymore. Once in a while I'll take out a predator or something, but for the most part, uh, my I guess you say my leisure time is devoted to something that orbits around fly fishing.
Would you say entomology is one of the most important things in fly fishing?
It is if you want to become a complete fly fisherman. Yes, yeah. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, you could just buy a bunch of flies and suggestive flies and go out and catch fish on them. But if you really, if if you really want to do what I like to do, and that is uh, duplicate what a fish is actually eating, that's a
Uh-huh.
big turn on to me. Then you need to know what identify invertebrates and how they act and what they do, because it in our sport, especially trout, but other fish too, they turn onto that activity. And if you're
Hmm.
not aware of what they're looking for in a grasshopper or cicada or a mayfly, you're not going to catch as many fish. But if you know what the story is about why they're feeding on a certain thing, you're going to do a lot better. Plus, it gives it some solid perspective.
Hmm.
You know you've done right whenever you're successful.
I've started messing with raccoon fur and using it to
Yeah,
tie streamers for smallmouth and for bass, and now
yeah.
I'm venturing into trying some trout flies with raccoon fur. It seems to be being pretty efficient for me to use.
Where where do you get your raccoons?
I have my father-in-law actually traps for a living, so I have pretty
Okay,
much
well you
all
got
of
it.
them, all of
Well,
them I want.
the reason I asked that is, boy, we got lots of raccoons here. God Almighty, they they just chewed up our gardens, and Emily's brother was raising some chickens a couple of years ago, and boy, those raccoons ate a bunch of them.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, so there's no shortage of raccoons. So that's a
You know,
so if you're interested in raccoon fur, you'll have plenty of material.
it's something that's become very passionate for me. Is I can see fly fishing for me go from me tying flies with feathers and animal fur and things that I can find naturally, making a fly with it, then taking it to the stream and catching that natural fish that's supposed to be there with something that looks
Yeah,
exactly what he typically eats. You know,
yeah,
that
yeah,
comes full circle, and that's more environmentally friendly, I think,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
makes me feel good.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's what it's all about.
You know, you look at all the you know, they make everything machine made now. You can get fake fur, fake feathers, whatever it is that you need, but
Oh, I know.
the natural stuff I think truly makes the difference on
Yeah.
the water for me.
Well, I believe in synthetics. I've kind of promoted them for years, but
Hmm.
I'm like you. I think I feel more like I'm tying flies when I'm tying with natural materials. You
Yep.
know,
And you can make a natural material look just like anything else that you want it to.
look natural.
Hmm. So did you ever have any children, Dave?
Two sons. Yeah.
You have two sons. Are they big fly fishermen?
Well, one is and one isn't. So one that never did gravitate to it, the other one really loved it. So, but our kids they're all different.
Oh yeah, mine are the same way. I
Yeah.
have a daughter that wouldn't touch a fishing rod if I bought her the most expensive rod in the world. She wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I've got a wonderful granddaughter that she dearly loves to fly fish,
Hmm.
but she has an Achilles heel that's just terrible. She's scared to death of bugs, and about she's about 40 years old. And if a spider or a beetle or a wasp, it's over with her, boy. She's out of there, and it's such a shame because to get up and fly fish, you got to get it. You got to get get with that kind of stuff. And bless her heart, she's scared to death of it. So mostly when I take her fly fishing, it's in the wintertime when
Yeah.
when that act when that invertebrate activity is not quite so predominant.
Oh, that's amazing. My my wife doesn't like bugs either, but she's growing to get over it to be out on the water with me.
Well, Jolene actually has a phobia of them. You know what I mean? She just
Yeah.
freaks out when I mean, and she can't help it. You know what I mean? You can't talk her into it. to relax, and she just can't stand it. So,
It happens to a lot of folks. My
I'm glad
youngest
I don't have that.
my youngest is afraid of snakes, and last time we were fishing, a snake went between her legs in the river, and it had a fish in its mouth, had a little trout in its mouth. It was real
Yeah,
small, went between her legs, and I've never seen a little girl run across the water faster than she did.
I don't blame her.
I
Yeah, yeah.
I think she walked on the water when when that thing come by her. She got right back in though.
I'll tell you my favorite snake story. Emma and I had just got together for about a year, and she
Hmm.
begun to be a pretty fair pair of fly fishermen. And we were up on a spring creek in Missouri
Hmm.
on Thanksgiving Day
Hmm.
fishing, and it was a cold day. I mean, it was basically winter.
Yeah.
And we were going down through this place, and there was kind of a high bank behind Emily, and she was waiting. And I told her, I said, "Be careful, with your back cats, because you're going to catch that bank." And she said, "I will be." And so pretty soon, and she said something a little different than that, but I'll use the word shoot. And she was hooked up on that bank, and it was just too much of a bank to try to crawl up to get a fly. So I said, "Well, just pull it off." So she started pulling, and she said, "Oh, it's coming loose! It's coming loose!" And here comes the great big stick, big brown stick, about 4.5 feet long. She'd hooked, but it wasn't a stick; it was a great big moccasin, and she had hooked that on her back cast. And
Woo!
boy, it was mad. But what it was doing out in November, I don't know. But she
Wow.
she fought it, and we landed it and unhooked it and turned it loose because it wasn't a poisonous moccasin;
Yeah.
it was just a big water moccasin. But I
Mm.
knew I had the right woman for a wife when you can get a gal that can catch a snake on her back cast
Yeah. You can't beat that. That's for sure. That's
and be
amazing.
happy about it. She thought it was really cool. Most women would drop that rod and gone, and it would never come back.
Yeah. I I might have dropped that rod and run. So one thing that what is your greatest memory in fly fishing?
Oh God,
There's
I'm
got
not
one
sure.
that just sticks out more than any other.
Yeah, there's so many of them. If you live 87 years, you're going to accumulate a lot. I could pick a number of them. I think probably the best fishing trip I ever had might be in that memory category. A few
Hmm.
years ago, Emma and I got to go to Bolivia uh,
Hmm.
for golden dorado, and
Oh,
I'm going to tell you something that there isn't a fish that swims that is better to catch on a fly rod than a golden dorado.
really?
They're just amazing fish in a high jungle and some beautiful clear rivers there. And every time somebody asks me, I always think of that first. So I guess that's my favorite one. But we caught golden dorado in a places that you look that if you just walked up there, you'd tie a trout fly on that weighed
Hmm.
20 to 30 pounds. And
Wow.
it was an amazing thing. If anybody watching and ever wants a real thrill or looking for a new thrill, certainly go to South America and fish for golden dorado. They're just one amazing, amazing fish.
Now, did you throw huge flies at them? Big streamers?
Big flies, not huge
Yeah.
flies, but big flies. Nothing like the stuff they throw now, but we were using 5 and 6 inch flies,
Yeah.
with one hook, and they were basically big streamers or hair-headed streamers, and but and 8 weights. We weren't
Hmm.
throwing this great big old stuff at all. You don't need to.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you something. They have a unique way of eating. First of all, they usually eat other fish or each other,
Hmm.
but they don't grab it with their head and swallow it. They just grab it and bite a piece off of it.
Really?
And they have a mouth that I would describe a perfect hybrid between a chainsaw and a garbage disposal. I mean, they can convert something into hamburger in a hurry. I've never seen
Really?
anything like it. Fortunately, they don't bite. They don't try to bite you when you're trying to land one, because if they did, it'd be too dangerous to fish for. But boy,
Wow.
but they got a set of teeth that just it's made to bite off things rather than swallow it. So boy,
Hmm.
they're amazing fish. But they're quite a fish.
I have some friends that live in South Africa, and I was talking about going to fish for what they call them tiger fish. Have
Yeah,
them
tiger fish. Yeah,
big old long
yeah,
teeth. I've been
yeah.
planning that trip for a little while.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't want to put your hand in their mouth either, boy.
Hmm.
You come out short a few fingers.
It'd be worth it just to catch one big old tiger fish.
No, no, it wouldn't. Man.
My
Blade
my wife
fingers.
wouldn't be very happy, but we've we've had a great conversation for the last 45 minutes, Dave. I really appreciate you coming on the show,
Well, good. I've
and
enjoyed talking to you.
I hope that we can continue talking every now and again. Maybe you get up to Missouri. I would absolutely love to take you fishing on the current.
Okay.
Anytime you're up
Well,
here, you just give me a holler, and I'll make sure we get on some fish there.
good. I look forward to that. Probably, if you're probably to let me out fish you.
Uh,
No, I'm just teasing. That's the least of my problems. I, I don't care to fish with people that are competitive about fishing.
hmm
And that's just not my nature. I never have been that way. Kept score or what have you. Uh, if you don't do that, you just stay so much more relaxed and have so much more fun on it.
I just love to take people and watch them catch fish. I don't have to
Yeah,
catch fish. If they're with
yeah,
me and
me
they're
too.
catching fish, I'm happy.
That's the way I feel too.
Well, Dave, I hope that you have a wonderful week. If you hang out here for a minute, I'll uh, I'll talk to you in a second. Thanks
Okay,
everybody for listening this week. Before we go, I would like to again thank our sponsors, Cardiac Mountain Outfitters, Woolly Bugger Fly Company, LOZ Lures, Lazy River Road Outfitters, Grumpy Platypus Hackle, and Andronimus Fly Company. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation that Dave and I had today. Look us up on YouTube, on Facebook at Missouri on the Fly Podcast, and have a wonderful week.
yeah, y'all do. Bye.